And, with all my books, I tend to write about women who go into places where they're not welcomed, where they're like the only something, either the only woman or the only woman of color or something. She stands out. And I wanted to put someone who's so, I would say cocksure, so let's say overly sure, as Sunny is, but put her in a place where she's not familiar, where she stands out, where she isn't so sure of the shadows and the dark areas and the type of people there.
This is Story to Count with Jen Jumba. In conversations with writers, something magical happens, and as readers, we begin to see them as human beings and not just the name on the spine of a book. My hope is through these conversations, you learn about their craft and them as a person. You'll become like me, fiercely loyal, want to read their current book, entire backlist, any future book, or any book they blurb. And when you see their name, you'll want to support them not only as incredible storytellers, but also the thoughtful individuals you have come to know. I'm super excited because my guest today is Rachel Howzell Hall. She's a New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today best-selling author of 16 novels, including the best-selling thriller Fog and Fury, the romantasy The Cruel Dawn, and the Good Morning America Book Club selection, The Last One. She's also the author of best-selling thrillers. She's a 2-time finalist of the Los Angeles Times Book Prize for And Now She's Gone and We Lie Here. Rachel's been nominated for a number of mystery awards, including the Anthony, Strand, and International Thriller Award. She's the author of Audible Originals, which is amazing, bestsellers See How They Run, and the Thriller Award and Audie Awards nominated How It Ends. She's a New York Times bestseller of The Good Sister with James Patterson. Yes, that James Patterson. Her shorter works have appeared in Ellery Queen, Mystery Magazine, Shattering Glass, and Unoccupied Earth. Breakdown in the Right Lane was published in Alta Magazine and was selected as a distinguished story in Best American Mystery and Suspense for 2023. Her short story, Clout Chaser, was a nominee for the British Crime Writers Association's Short Story Dagger Award. Just like the name of that, we write mysteries, a Dagger Award. Right? Rachel is a former member of the board of directors for the Mystery Writers of America and was a featured writer on NPR's acclaimed Crime in the City series and the National Endowment for the Arts weekly podcast. She served as a mentor with Sisters in Crime, Pitch Wars, and the Association of Writer Programs. She lives in Los Angeles with her husband and daughter. And so she has a regular full-time job, and this is how accomplished she is with what she does outside of that. So I'm super excited that you're here. Because we're here
Thank
to talk
you for
about
inviting me, Jen. Oh my gosh.
anytime.
It's so wonderful to talk to you.
I've been a
Officially.
fan of yours since the very beginning. I remember being introduced to your Lose series, and just like from that point on, I was like, she's got me. So
Aw.
today we're going to talk
So
about
long
Mist and
ago.
Malice, which is the
Yay.
second in the series featuring this incredible character, Sunny Rush. Do you want to talk a
Yes.
little bit about where the origin for this story came from and character creation?
Yes, because I also loved writing Lou Norton back in the day. And my Lou Norton series started in 2014. And there were 4 books of those. And the publisher's like, yeah, what else you have? And so we left Lou behind. But I always thought about her, and I thought about women like her. And it wasn't until 3 years ago, I guess now, that my editor at Thomas and Murphy was like, would you want to do a series? It's like, yeah, yeah. And what if she's a PI, which, gives me more flexibility in terms of who I wanted her to be. And I wanted her to once again be a really good person at her heart from Los Angeles, like I am. But I wanted her to be a little angrier, a little dirtier, a little, I don't like these people, but somehow I have to help them because that's how I was brought up. And that became Sunny Rush. And, with all my books, I tend to write about women who go into places where they're not welcomed, where they're like the only something, either the only woman or the only woman of color or something. She stands out. And I wanted to put someone who's so, I would say cocksure, so let's say overly sure, as Sunny is, but put her in a place where she's not familiar, where she stands out, where she isn't so sure of the shadows and the dark areas and the type of people there. And I didn't know where that place was until I was on faculty with the Mendocino Writers Conference. And driving there nearly like took me out a few times. It's a beautiful drive from Santa Rosa, California, which has the cutest little airport. It's Charles Schultz and Peanuts and everything. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so cute. I get in
Mhm.
my car and travel this highway, Highway 126 or 128. And there's so many curves and switchbacks, and it's 2 lanes, and there are logging trucks, and the coast of California is over there, and it scared me. And here I am, a child of Los Angeles who's driven all the freeways, terrified, like an hour's worth of curves. And I'm like, I don't wanna drive back. I may just have to stay on the Mendocino coast forever and ever. And Mendocino coast is beautiful. It's where, Murder, She Wrote, that's where the Murder, She Wrote town is. So it's like, it's absolutely gorgeous, but getting there is a murder. And so it's like, what if I put Sunny in a place like this where it's absolutely gorgeous, but it's those small towns that scare me the most. So that's how it all came. So I wanted somebody who's arrogant and funny like Sunny
Yes.
in a place where there's so much fog and shifting sands that she sometimes can't get her bearing.
And as a reader, there were times where I couldn't quite get my bearing either.
Mhm,
Sunny
mhm.
is incredibly good. She was an LAPD detective, like
Homicide, yes,
100% clearance rate, like rock star, like knew exactly who she was, what she was meant to do, and did it very well. And to your point, you
until
took
they
her.
told her that she wasn't doing it
Yes.
well.
And
Mhm,
boy, that if that doesn't mess with your head as somebody who is accomplished in a particular, people say subject matter expert, whatever the right buzzword is these days,
mhm,
to know that you are doing something that is somewhat effortless because it's what you feel you were meant to do. And then somebody comes along and kind of knocks you out from under to say, like, no, you're
yeah,
not good. And this is all your
yeah,
fault. So
yeah,
she's got that quote unquote baggage with her. Then you set it
yes,
in a town that is so atmospheric. I mean, just the fact that the first one was called Fog and Fury, and this is Mist
yes.
and Malice. So, first of all, the alliteration, well done. But
Thank you.
captures,
Next
you,
year's is Sand and Sorrow. There you go.
I'm there.
Yeah.
But it's just the atmospheric, and the fact that there's constant fog and constant mist that you can't trust your own eyes with what you're seeing.
Right, right,
And
right.
she's so
And
unsettled, and she's pulled. Yeah.
yeah. No, and all that is intentional with from the setting itself because, being on the coast, people think if you haven't been on a coastal city that, oh, it's all sun. And that's not true for like from May to August, basically, we do get that heavy fog and it's cold and it's not necessarily the most comfortable thing. And you have to drive in it and it is scary. So it serves as like a true thing, a true environmental thing, but
Right.
also what she's actually going through with her career, with
Mhm.
her love life, with
Yes.
her family background, with, who she is. All of it's related. And you think you know things until that one moment where you're told, "Yeah, no, that's not how it went."
Yeah, and
So,
that's
yeah.
that's incredibly
Mhm,
unsettling, and I feel for her. I mean, she's a character that you can't help but, like, root for and cheer for and want to see her do well. I mean, she's also taking care of her mom who's showing signs of dementia
mhm.
or some memory loss, but not so consistently where she needs to be someplace yet. So, Sunny's trying to keep
Yeah.
an eye on her mom, trying to figure out this PI business because a friend of her father's has a PI
Mhm.
business there. Her father was also
Yeah.
Sunny's father was also a cop. So this is
Yes.
a family friend. Sunny's grown up with him, knows him. He opens a PI business and is an opportunity maybe for a fresh start, perceived fresh start, you know?
Perceived, yeah.
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 And let's come to
No,
a
I
town that's named Haven.
right. we're only missing the E, so to make it heaven.
Yes.
And again, with the fog thing, with her mother in that situation with her health. And I wanted to really capture that because both my mother-in-law and then toward the end of his life, my father were both suffering from that. And if you don't understand it, then there are people who'd say like, "Well, to put someone in a home is so cruel," like how people were saying that about Bruce Willis and how his family. But it's like it's a dangerous disease in many ways to both you and the patient. It's scary, it's depressing because they're remembering things and dumping things on you, and you're supposed to somehow deal with this. This happens to Sunny a lot where her mother, who is aware that she's losing her memory, is starting to unload some of the things that she's remembering onto Sunny, and then what is Sunny supposed to do with that? And I know a lot of people in our generation, I'm Gen X, we're dealing
Mhm.
with that now, where
Right.
parents are like, yeah, this happened. Now you know, and now I'm gonna be over there. And it's like, well, what the hell? You're just gonna just dump this on me and I'm supposed to be okay with it? So yeah, that yeah, I wanted her to have all that because I feel that's what's happening to our generation right now where we're tr- we're we're dealing with careers that are eroding, with danger to our children who are either becoming new adults or just, it's just a mess. It's all a
Yeah,
mess.
it
Nothing
is.
makes sense,
No, nothing. I'm
and the
living
world
in a
is
world I
burning.
don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted Sunny to deal with all that. I couldn't just give her one thing because I don't think any of us are dealing
No,
with
pile on,
just
Sonny.
one thing. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, on a random Thursday, that's not real life. And how do you do your job when, it's not real life? I was watching the last episode or a few episodes ago, The House of the Dragon, and it was an episode where Rhaenyra, the Black Queen, has cramps where she's trying to also deal with all the responsibilities of being like a queen. And I'm like, a woman wrote this, and a woman did write it because it's like, here
Yes.
you are trying to rule your kingdom, and you're not feeling well, and there's nothing you can do except just grit your teeth and deal with it. And so I like bringing that kind of reality to Sunny and how she deals with it. And she's not, like I said about Lou, who tends to be above some things. She's not
Right.
above it at all. And that was fun to write. That I loved writing her.
Yeah. She's fantastic, and then
Yeah.
you have her mom telling her things, but it's also complicated with the fact that is that something that really did happen? Because her memory can't
Right.
really be trusted. So, like, you have that
Yeah.
unease, like, "Okay, did this happen? If so, holy cow, I need to process this, or did it not?" And she doesn't really have people she can check in with. She's an
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
child. Her
She's an
father
only
had
child.
passed away a couple years earlier. So, like, what do
Yes.
you do with that? How do you hold space for that? How do you process it, and at the same time, you're trying to figure out this new town that you live in and who the neighbors are and who the people are and, start
And
a
yeah.
career? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
why
and
not?
my boyfriend, he's not
Mhm.
being entirely honest with me. And holy cow, I came up here to be with him and what? What? So yeah, this was again, it was so fun to write, but it was also heartbreaking because, writers, we pull from real life and things. And
Mhm.
I was pulling from a lot of my own kind of discomfort at this point in my life, not knowing the answers because you thought that by now, this stuff would be figured out. And it's not. It's just more layers of complicated things. And that's what fiction should do, right? It as we were just saying moments ago, fiction, you look out or you look in. So I definitely got to do that with this series.
And I think a lot of people will relate to her. I think a lot of people feel, I mean, a very similar sense of being pulled in a gazillion different directions, having,
Yeah.
kids and then having parents that you're looking out for, or your career that you used to have, you've now pivoted because your parent requires more I mean, there's so much here that is relatable, but at the same time, underneath it, there's a thread of a mystery happening. And
Yeah.
Haven is this. what's the right word to describe it? This very affluent place that's kind of
Yes.
like a bubble, right? Everything is
Uh-huh.
perfect, and the local newspaper never has any of the crimes reported. It's just like so and so won the best recipe for
Mhm.
this and all the good stuff. And so her very first case in Fog and Fury is to find a dog, you know,
Yes.
a golden doodle. And I'm thinking,
A
really?
golden doodle of all the
Yeah,
dogs.
of
Yeah.
all dogs,
Yeah.
right? And
Uh-huh.
so I'm just
Named
kind of like
Figgy.
chuckling. I was
Uh-huh.
like, wow, if that's the worst thing that happens to somebody, this is kind of a good place to live. But then again, with your fog and your mist and that atmospheric of not quite trusting things and things not being what they seem,
Yeah.
you know, Sunny
Yeah.
finds herself
No.
like kind of caught up in other things because they're
Yes.
like
No.
adjacent to the golden doodle.
Right. No, my editor always calls my books, they're like cozies on crack because they are, because they start out so cute. It's like, "Oh,
Yes.
she's looking for a golden doodle named Figgy." And it's like, yeah, but if you've ever read me, you
Mm-hmm.
know that's not going to just be the story. There's going to be something crazy because that's in, again, how many times has a woman gone to the grocery store just going there to pick up bread and something absolutely crazy and scary and stupid happens, like, all the
Right.
time? And
All
that's
the
how I
time.
see life. Your intention is to go from A to B, but now you're on Mars and you don't even know
Yes.
how you got here.
Right.
So, yeah, yeah. No,
Reading one of your books, I'm like, yes, starts off really nice and gentle and somewhat safe. And I'm just waiting like to the point where I'm gonna turn the page and the bottom's just gonna fall out. And then I was like, then I'm holding on for dear life. So we
yay!
get
I
to
love
the end.
hearing that. I love hearing that because again, that's how I see life. I really do. There are days where nothing happens, and that's a wonderful day. But
Yes.
then, you go to the airport and all of a sudden, your husband's being sucked out the window on
Yes.
Ryanair,
Yes.
right? It's like,
Right.
well, that lady didn't expect to be holding on to her husband's legs. She just wanted to go to, like, Carson.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
and so, yeah, I like looking at the absurdities of life and making my readers, giving them a sense of, well, anyone who's read me know that they're not going to come in and it's going to be easy. But for those who just meet me, we're like, oh, this is so when does the crazy start? It's like it will. Don't
Yeah.
sleep.
It will.
I'm
Yeah.
going to get
Just
you
give
there.
it time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Rachel
Hmm.
will lull you
I've already
into
done
this
it.
false sense of calm. Yes. And
I've
then
already told you
boom.
the answer. Right.
Yes. Yes, but I mean, I think it's really interesting because I think that that's part of life, right? There's a lot of things that we plan for, and then a lot of things that happen in between, and some of them are terrific surprises, things that we never imagined come our way.
Yeah.
And then there's the like tragic or absurd things that come our way. And just
Yeah.
watching how
Yeah.
Sunny's navigating that and reacting to that makes her such a great character,
Thank
who I
you. Thank
enjoy
you.
hanging out with during those pages for
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah.
And I definitely want it to be an earned crazy, an earned kind of like manic in some ways. I'm not interested in just lobbing things at her for the sake of it, but it all has to make sense and it all has to be related to something. And that dog, like you
Right.
said, the dog is a spoke in the bicycle wheel to so many of the other things that happen with Sunny, especially in Fog and Fury, and then continuing on in Mist and Malice.
Right. Yeah, you go out looking
Yeah,
for a lost dog. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, that's right. I'm reading a Rachel
exactly.
Howzell Hall book. I know. I know it's
Yes.
coming. But Sunny just has this great attitude on things. Sometimes she's self-assured where
Mhm.
says things like finding the truth and righting wrongs was my destiny. Or
Yeah.
she's got this sense of self, and then other times she's like, "Wait a second." And so Mist and Malice kinda centers around picks up with a character that was missing in Fog and
Mhm.
Fury that shows up on
Mhm.
her doorstep,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in not a great condition.
Right.
And
Right.
then the fact that you named her Honor,
Mhm.
this
Yes.
character. I thought exactly, right? I thought interesting choice and
Yeah.
what Honor has gotten kind of caught up in. And it's that whole thing, you're a teen and there's peer pressure and wanting to posture and impress people. And before
Especially
you know it,
now.
those small little things like, okay, well, I'll sit with them at lunch at
Uh-huh.
school. And then it's like, okay, well, we'll go out after school and we'll grab coffee. So like these small little things. And next thing you know, the pendulum has swung to your point, cozy on crack with the
Yeah.
situation that she finds herself in.
Right. And this is one thing that when I was on vacation, watching humanity and watching parents and their children, just this gentle parenting is putting like a lot of these kids in bad situations where they let their kid do a little and then a little bit more and then a little bit more. And then the kid's drowning. And now you want the world to save your child. And I watched this, on vacation and my daughter and I went to the club. We were up in the club, hanging out with Steve Aoki. But
Yeah.
I was having fun, but I'm a studier of human life. I'm watching all the youths be young and making mistakes and capturing it on Instagram and all the rest of it and knowing that this isn't good. And you fear for them, but you're not surprised when the bad things happen. And when it came to Honor, looking at her mother, Keely, this girl was destined to just be in a bad situation because her mother can't even see who her mother is. Keely, the mother, doesn't know who she is and is constantly shoving things off on other people. So Honor, the daughter, is going to get caught up in some things. And sometimes other people have to come in to save, the kid. And in this sense, and in this story, Sunny is that kind of protector. She is Athena. She is the Athena of Haven. And she didn't really choose to be that, but here she is. And like I said, she don't like most of these people, but there's this sense of if I don't do it, who will? And
Yeah.
for Honor, especially, well, who's going to save this girl?
Yeah. And I think Sunny says it best in the book where I Honor says one of those most heartbreaking lines, like, I'll never be Honor again, associating that with
Hmm.
her name given what had happened. And it just
Yeah.
broke my heart. I know you tried to put it back together, but no.
Uh-huh.
So at that point, Sunny said, I'll help return agency to that exploited victim, reclaim their name, take their breath. And I
Yeah.
just think,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not what she signed up for, but knowing how she was as a detective at the LAPD, and it was like, I'm here to right wrongs. I'm here to
Yeah.
kind of hold people accountable and
Yeah.
wanting to do the same thing here, but it's complicated because she knows so much as a detective and the police force there in Haven, they're
Right.
not used to
And also,
complicated cases.
yeah. And also, there's the whole commercial element. She's
Uh-huh.
doing this now for pay instead of, as a cop, you get paid, yes, but it's a kind of a different type of client. She is a mandated reporter. So as a cop, now she's like a gun for hire. And I don't have to actually really care about these people unless they pay me because in order for me to eat, I need to get paid. And so she's also kind of struggling with, well, where does the line, where do I stop caring? And she can't, no matter how much she wants to. She got in this business because of her heart, because of her commitment. And no matter how much she doesn't want to she wants to shut it off at 5 o'clock and she can't,
No, and I think that's
you know?
part of what comes from people who are first responders, police officers,
Yeah.
other professions where you can't shut it off because it's
Yeah.
complicated. As a
Yeah.
detective, I mean, you're seeing humanity at its very worst and
Yeah.
also at its very best. The people who surprise you and step up to provide assistance that you're surprised by, but you're seeing what we as human beings do to one another to be called in to investigate a case in the first place.
Right. Right.
So,
No,
I
and
don't think you ever can turn that off. I mean, you probably can
no,
compartmentalize, but you can't ever really turn that part of you off. That's why you were called to that
that's why you're
vocation.
caught. Exactly. Exactly. So poor Sunny, she just wants to like fall in love and,
Exactly.
be cute by the ocean. And she can't even keep her silk press done for a whole day without,
Yeah, that was quite funny. I kinda laughed and I was like, she has a great friend, India, right? Who
uh-huh. Huh?
who's like her best friend, who is the coroner or
Yeah, the medical examiner or
medical examiner, right? So, like,
uh-huh.
again, sees people at their very worst, right? But they have this really great dynamic where they have great dialogue and great banter,
Yeah.
and know when to kind of push and when to kind of hold. Fantastic,
Yeah,
fantastic
thank you.
character to
Thank
compliment her.
you.
I mean, even the opening scene, right? I wrote down some lines that from the
Yes.
book. I mean, things like she's encouraged by her therapist to go out and do, some social activity at least once a week. So there's a line. I mean, I can't even say it with a straight face. No, I didn't want to die from rickets or scurvy. Death by bar crawl party bike would do. Where she's on this pub crawl where everybody's riding this gigantic bike and
True
somehow
story.
really.
Yes, we're in Napa doing a bar crawl on bikes, the 12-person bike that it was awful. It was wonderful, but it's like, what am I doing? What am I
Yes.
doing? I'm like, this has
Right.
to go in a book.
Yeah, it
So here
absolutely.
Sonny is in
Mhm.
Napa
Yeah, and then
or yeah, in his
and it's funny, her mom, because the memory issues are intermittent, Sonny doesn't always know who's gonna show up as her mom.
yeah,
And her mom
yeah.
has all these cliche sayings, "Oh, when one door closes, another opens," all those trite things that we've heard, you know? And Sonny
Yeah.
just says to her mom, "With all your sayings, I should just hang you on the wall." Just laugh because everybody wants their walls with these great quotes of wisdom and
Yeah,
insight and positive reinforcement, you know? It just
I love that line.
Oh, yeah. And the bargain basement Encyclopedia Brown, the fact that you referenced Encyclopedia Brown, I was like, "Yes, this is fantastic," because I read those as a kid and
Yes,
loved them.
yes, between that and the Guinness Book of World Records, I mean, we're chock full of information
That's
and
exactly
shenanigans.
right. I mean, we're incredibly charming at cocktail parties or, pub crawls on
Yes,
a bike.
yes,
Lots of fun
yes.
things to talk
Well
about.
well, and that was a fun scene to write, that very first scene, because here you are, and this happens to all of us, here you are trying to quote relax, and you can't because it just doesn't feel right to do. And the phone rings or the email pings, and you just have to answer it. And no one says you have to, but there we are, bringing the stress into our lives. We seek it out sometimes.
We do, and I found
Yeah.
that thread common throughout this book too, is the how we connect with technology, right? At
Hmm.
at one point, she's trying to talk to her love interest and sees the little ellipses. We've all felt this. You text somebody, you see the little ellipses, that means they're texting back, and then they just stop and there's no reply, and you're like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
And then you can't, like, let it
What
go.
is
You
going
keep
on?
checking your phone like, "Okay, is my volume on? Did I accidentally turn it
Hmm.
off? Am my
Hmm.
notifications silenced? What?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's like, "You know what? I'm just gonna turn off my phone completely." And, like, what a bold move because so many people wouldn't do it, couldn't do it, choose not to do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I just
No,
thought we
and
are so addicted to these
we
devices.
are. And we drive our own blood pressures up. And sometimes I mean, that's probably the only time she'll turn it off for the rest of the year. But she had to at that point because he'd already driven her like to the edge.
Yes,
And at least for this moment, this night, you're not going to get to do that to me. And so she's very human, but she will say once in a while, no, I'm not going to let you come into my space. I'll turn it on as soon as I get up in the morning, but for the moment, no, I'm going to win this fight.
right,
I
and I'm
like
gonna
that about
sleep
Sunny.
because I'm
Yeah,
not gonna be able to hear anything. Because if it comes, it comes, if it doesn't, it doesn't, and I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I think we've all
yeah,
done that
yeah,
before. Maybe.
yeah, yeah.
When
And
we just can't
another of
turn it
my
off.
favorite scenes is, her I think this is in Mist and Malice. Yes, it is. It's like all the books are starting. The unexpected wisdom of the Uber ride back to
Yes.
her, because that always happens. It's like, yeah. And, I'm one of those, I like quiet cars.
Mhm.
And not everybody heeds to that. And you end up talking to this person and they actually say something that's like, huh, I'm going to think about that. And I wanted her to have that random moment in the car with this Uber driver who kind of amends her, you know, existentialist crisis in the backseat of his Corolla or whatever. that was one of my favorite scenes, and to also find out that he's a professional mourner, because that is a thing.
I did
It
not know that. I went
it's
down
a
the rabbit
thing.
hole of looking that up because I was
Yeah.
so curious as to what
Uh-huh.
exactly that entailed and
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
blown away.
And in a way, she is too. She cops all the time will go to funeral services and to the hospital bedside and to all these places and will be there for the family, and then they'll move on
Yeah,
because they have to.
right.
So I liked that kind of connection between her and the driver.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's an epigraph that starts the book. The quote, "There's only one day left, always starting over. It is given to us at dawn and taken away from us at dusk."
Yeah.
And to your point
She's
about cops going to hospitals and staying in touch with families, I mean, there was a family from the first book, Fog and Fury,
Mhm.
where the
Yeah.
high school senior was killed,
Yeah.
and Sonny is still in touch with his
Mhm.
parents in this book,
Yeah.
Mist and Malice, trying
Yeah.
to kinda help them feel a sense of justice.
Mhm. Yeah. And mourning with them still, because even though, it's solved, it really isn't. There's no such real thing as closure. And so Sunny is there. And I remember being in college and taking a philosophy class and reading Sartre and not understanding, because a lot of things you read in college you don't understand until you get to be old. And I wanted to return to, that philosophy, especially for someone like Sunny. And in the third book, her mother will challenge her on that, on her love of this philosopher, this French man who don't even believe in God. So that'll be fun for Val and Sunny,
Yeah,
amongst other, shenanigans. Yeah.
yes. And so, we it starts with Figgy with the golden doodle, right?
Mhm.
And leads
Mhm.
to this high school senior whose parents up and move him to what they perceive to be a safer environment for him for his senior year, so he has an
Yeah.
opportunity, unfortunately killed, murdered, and
Yeah.
then because she needs money, as you said, as a PI, I mean, you're hustling for money versus that steady paycheck that you have when you're a
Yeah.
detective. And so this woman walks in to private investigative office that she shares with
Mhm.
her late father's best friend.
Yeah.
And she's reporting her husband missing, that he's been missing for months and the police have done nothing. And so
Mhm.
there's that.
Mhm.
And she
Mhm.
talks about, to your point, when you said it earlier on about always having characters and being driven by stories where people don't fit in, where people are an
Yeah.
outsider. And
Yeah.
so one of the things I think that makes Sunny such a great character is her belief of how important it is to hold space for people to
Yeah.
feel seen and heard.
Yeah. Thank you. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she does that with Araceli. Yeah, definitely. And for the other side of Haven, there's a whole, in every fancy town, there's the other side of that town. And I liked visiting the other side of Haven, where Sunny's like, you get a great breakfast and cheaper tires, because
Yeah. Because
that's what it is.
yeah, it
Yeah.
just yeah, so that comes up and she's trying to figure out like where, this woman's husband disappeared to and the
Yeah.
tension that exists between her knowledge having worked in LA, which is a completely different atmosphere setting than
Yeah.
this little charming coastal town Haven, and knowing all that knowledge about being a detective and how there's procedures in place and there's things that you need to think about and a process, and yet this police force in Haven doesn't seem to know those same things. And I was like, don't they all go to like the same school
You,
to learn
you
these
think,
things? One
you
would
think
think, but so there's
when you
tension
don't have
between
to.
her wanting to
Yeah.
show them, not show them up, but like help them,
Right.
and
Right.
they're not real accepting of that.
They're not, because especially since, she's a girl. What does she
Yes.
know? And she's a girl from Los Angeles. So she really thinks and she's a black girl from Los Angeles. So we're really going to be like, whatever. And you think that, everybody goes to the same kind of academies, and sometimes they do. But even when they do, you could send 2 people to the same place and they leave with totally different work ethics, philosophies, a
Retention.
desire to work. Right, exactly. Exactly, and that's what we
Yeah.
have here where, yeah, there's some good cops and then there's some lazy cops. There are people who just wanna collect a check and, not look for the person
No.
because they're not supposed to be here anyway, so why am I going to spend any of this time helping?
Because
Yeah.
the
No, yeah.
her husband, who is Hispanic and believed to be not documented, so police are like, "Well, why should we look?"
Mm,
And how those
yeah,
decisions are made in terms of who gets the attention, who gets the resources, that's a
yeah,
theme in this book, which
yeah.
I think it's good that you bring up and address.
And, I was writing this before the whole big ice thing because this has always been an issue in California. I mean, we are the nation's, like, biggest farm, right? So, undocumented labor has always I mean, Cesar Chavez, before we found out what he was doing and how he was hurting to Mrs. Huerta, that's always been a concern of California, which is, the farm workers and people being ignored who are actually putting the food literally on our tables. So it just happened to coincide with, ICE running people down in the streets of America. It's for California, immigration and documentation and the border and all that always been a big topic. So yeah, it was coincidental
Right, and
that
not only that,
the
but
rest of the country is talking about it.
yeah, no, I mean, you took the time to put in some stats. 10 million pedestrians cross from Mexico into California, and then 26 million drove.
Yeah.
And there's an
Yeah.
estimated, I think you said 1.5 million that are undocumented.
Mhm.
And to your point,
Yeah.
they're doing the work that so many people don't want to do
Right.
that puts the food on our table. There's a sense of pride, I think, that goes with that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
yet, yeah, it's
And yet
complicated.
it really is.
It shouldn't be,
And
but it is.
right. And I wanted her, in addition to all the kind of like domestic things with, honor, I wanted her to be involved in this in the face of Haven, who the town fathers and mothers are trying to figure out what their identity is. And part of the identity is, as they're trying to build up and gentrify and build spas and, be like Carmel by the Sea and Pismo Beach, bringing in people to do this work, but not really paying attention to their needs. And Sunny needed to, be involved in that because her boyfriend is a part of that, the workforce that are bringing people in and out. So the person she loves may not be the most honorable. So she has to deal with that too. How poor
Just,
Sunny.
I know, I was going to say,
She
you're
just
just
wants to
really
keep
piling on, Sunny. And this is, you said, a trilogy, right? So I'm hoping,
huh, uh-huh.
I'm hoping there's something good that happens to Sunny in book 3. That
She'll get
sorrow,
to keep her
sand and
hairdo for
sorrow.
like 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing that's just interesting is, social media, right? Is
Mhm.
mentioned in this book. We talked a little bit about it before, but there's a quote that you mentioned that it's always shiny pics and aspirational shots, outright lies of life sometimes. So it goes to that mystique of Haven, that it is a
Uh-huh.
haven, that it is this
Uh-huh.
perfect little pocket bubble of a world where everything good happens. There's never anything bad except for a lost golden doodle. But other than that,
Right.
things are fine.
Right. The
But
hijinks are even cute from the high school students because they put
yeah,
bubbles in the swimming pool. It's the cute bad things.
correct. And so what ends up happening, I think, is that if you stay at someplace long enough or you talk to somebody long enough, you have the opportunity to see beyond that surface, right? To see that depth, to see that truth, to see that dark, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I tend to watch on my lunch break. I watch IDTV and it's always, Murder in a Small Town, that whole
Yes.
series, right?
Right.
And me growing up in the city, I like lots of light. I like the noise of because I it's the quiet and the dark spaces that scare me. And when you watch these murder in a small town, true crime series, you have people saying, "I never lock my doors, but the one time
Yeah.
I didn't, that guy came in and killed my entire family." And I'm like, "Well, lock your doors. Why are you leaving your keys in
I
your
know.
car?" Like that kind of
Exactly.
thing.
Basic common sense. Or as my dad says,
Right.
common sense is not so common.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it's like I'm going into a small town where everyone trusts everyone, and that guy would never do it. Of course he will do it. Yes,
yes.
he's gonna do it. And
Yes.
so Sonny is coming into this place saying, "Y'all are crazy because that person over there,
Yeah. Not
there
right.
there's the one who's gonna do it to you." Yeah. So I small towns are cute, but I just don't trust them.
No. And and so this is a note to all listeners. If you're reading a book by Rachel Howzell Hall and it is set in a small town that you think is charming, hold on.
Think again. Think again.
Think
Well,
again, the bottom will fall out.
I will blame Truman Capote because he wrote that book, and them people in that tiny city in Kansas, in that little farm town, and bad things happened because, why wouldn't the escaped convicts or whatever go to that house, that farmhouse way over in True Blood? No, in True, is it in,
In True Blood.
what was it?
In
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 Cold
Cold
Blood?
Blood. In Cold
In
Blood.
Cold Blood?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one. Let's blame him. For my not trusting the small, cute little towns that, of course, everybody loves everybody and everybody knows everybody, and we all go to church together
Well,
and
we
it's all
think
good.
yeah.
You think
And
you
that's the
do.
thing is that what I've found is I know you all as writers, Rachel, you're asked to give an elevator pitch to your book. And I'm like, how do you do that with one of your books? Because it's like layer upon layer upon layer. And this conversation is sometimes difficult because I
Mhm,
don't want to give any spoilers away and ask
mhm.
anything that would tip the hand. But it is fascinating to me to look at what people are doing and trying to understand because that's what you get in a book, right? You can see a
Yeah,
character and understand why, might not agree with it, but it lends
yeah,
a little bit more understanding than somebody that you meet in real life because you really don't know what's lurking.
yeah, yeah. No, my books are hard to sometimes pitch because people think, "Oh, it's a stupid story about a dog? She's looking for a dog?" And it's like, "Well, actually," but then it's like, I can't tell you more because then like you said, I would tip the hand.
Right.
And they are, these wonderfully complex stories about human nature and the environment informing human nature. And yeah, it can be hard for me sometimes to just get across in, two sentences what my story is about, but what my story is really, really about because they seem so simple. And it's like, no, not at all.
There's a great theme in here about light versus dark,
Hmm.
which I absolutely love, and it just adds to the atmosphere of Fog and Fury and Mist and Malice. But in terms of light, Sunny talks about some light purified, some light destroyed, some light did both.
Yeah.
And then talks about wanting to see the truth, but not all light was the same. Some light showed clarity, while other light blinded. Right now, the light was powerful, bright, and deadly. The truth sometimes was. I
That's a
know.
great
Yes,
line.
you
I
wrote
wrote
that.
that.
I know. You all
And
like
I,
with it. You can't. I can see Rachel on a screen. You all are listening, but this Marvel like, oh wow, I did write that.
That's deep because it's true. I believe it. I totally believe it. Yeah, yeah. No, and that's the wonderful thing about writing. Y- We have these thoughts, and I'm not the only person who's thought that same thing, but to put it down in a context of, a story and clarifying it so that someone says, "Oh my God, that's right." Because think about all the light in my life from sunlight being both good and bad
Hmm.
to, yeah.
It's
No,
the
that's fun. That's
duality
the
of
best
life.
part of
Yeah,
uh-huh.
like two
Yeah.
opposite things can be true at the same time, and I think
Yeah.
that's hard for anybody to wrap their head around.
Yeah. I mean, she especially deals with that with her mother and the dementia.
Hmm.
She's finding out the truth, but do I wanna find out the truth? Because once I find out the truth, now I have to do something about it. And sometimes I don't wanna do anything about it. sometimes not knowing is the best. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
ignorance is
she's
bliss.
asking questions. And, sometimes, yeah, I get that. When I was on vacation and I actually turned on my out of office for my Gmail, my personal Gmail, because I don't wanna know anything. I've turned off all my executive functioning. I see a problem over there at the rum table. I'm gonna let those
Yes,
people fix it. I'm done. I can't I want to be ignorant for at least 8 days
yes,
because it takes work to be engaged. And for Sunny, she's trying to balance that, not wanting to be involved, but knowing that she has to be because
right.
ultimately someone has to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and because of how she's wired, to right wrongs and to, help people and restore people's sense of agency if they were a
Yeah.
victim, it's that same thing, but
Yeah.
that everybody will have to read this book, but dang if you don't gasp when you read that particular part of the book.
Yeah, because she is the light in many ways. She's the light that brings clarity, but also she's the light that damages some things around the town, around people's families. So she is the embodiment of that thing that she just talked about that can be restorative and
Destroy.
punitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating, fascinating character.
Thank you.
Yeah. Language, people fog, made of avoidance and
Mm.
half truths.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Thank
And then
you.
my other favorite line, even though it breaks my heart, there's two more. My chin was quivering, my tears standing on the brink of my heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Sunny.
add to my existing lacework of trauma. Just,
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
So,
No, you look back at your life and it's like, in some ways it is tragically beautiful because even with the bad, there's less pain for that person who's passed. There's less pain for you. There's freeing of resources. There's the lamentations and it's such a weird and nothing's ever the same size, but it all fits together into this whole fabric of who you are as a person. So yeah,
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 there's
man.
a line that I believe Val, who's Sunny's mom, says to her is, "Don't let your past keep you from your future."
Mm, yeah,
And I think that what a lesson for all of us. All the life experiences that we've had make us who we are. And
yeah,
I think it comes from maybe discernment would be the right word in
hmm,
terms of what you
yeah,
hold on
yeah,
to be able to move forward,
yeah,
which I'm always kind of just amazed by.
yeah. No, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to write this series at this point in my life because when I wrote the Lou Norton series, I was 37 and, starting at 37 and I'm, 56 now. And there was a lot of living in between, those freaking,
Yeah.
my God,
Yeah,
seven,
keep blink.
Lord, wait, am I doing math? It's, it's about to be
30, yeah,
20
well,
years.
19,
Holy
right?
cow. Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. I just, really blew my mind right there. But yeah, there I am coming to writing Sunny as, a 57, 56, 55-year-old who, my cares are totally different than what they were at 37 when I'm a new mom and I'm coming out of my one of my cancer experiences and I'm coming out of not having a book deal and all these things that I'm coming out of that I'm writing Lou as, but now looking back on those things and having some of the
Yeah.
wisdom in just those 20 years of now having a 22-year-old daughter and being, healthy. And I'm glad that I'm having a chance to write some of the wisdom that I've gathered about life and about leaving some things behind and moving forward and losing people and hurting from that, but feeling good that you did what you could to make life better for not just you, but for your family and your loved ones.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, isn't
yeah,
that Ralph Waldo Emerson, who says, success is like to have one life breathes easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. Something to that
Wow.
effect.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. That's lovely.
and so,
Yeah.
yeah, writing. And so that was one of the questions I had is that it takes you a lot longer to write a book than it takes me to read one of your books. Sorry. But life
That's a
happens
trade
while
off.
when you're writing a book. And so does that ever change the outcome of what you were starting with because of something that happened in your life during the course of writing the book?
Sometimes it does. It depends on who the character is. For Sunny, it it didn't because the dementia thing had already happened by the time I got to this. So I'm writing it as, an elder's daughter and the wife of the son who helped take care of his mom who was going through that. So that may not have changed because it already happened, but the crimes and how people deal with it and technology, that may change as I'm writing it, as I learn something new every day. And that's one reason why I do try to write every day. The only days I don't write is, Christmas Day and when I'm on true vacation, like I was last week. I don't write at all. But every other time I do write because things happen in the world that if something in technology like I don't even know. Like, I may discover that there's a new transcription device that cops are using now. I want to have that reflected in the story. So that will change. But for the most part, big, big issues like dementia and loss, that's already living somewhere inside of me because I've already kind of dealt with it.
You have a
And
little
now
bit
I'm
of that
ready to
healthy
write about it.
distance and space
Yeah.
to be able to write about it, but because you experienced it comes across as very genuine and authentic and it's going to
Yeah.
resonate with people.
Yeah. And like, there are a lot of things that I love to write about that I do care about, but I don't care about them in a way that I'm living it. And so I can't write about it authentically. I can write, about it and you'd be kind of convinced that "Oh, she likes this stuff, but to have it like hit your heart spot and
Yeah.
be so convincing that you're crying because I'm crying writing this because
Yeah.
I'm plumbing the depths of my soul to share what scares me and what bothers me and what I've thought about and lived with. So, yeah. Yeah, so in some ways it's dynamic. Other ways, the more emotionally deep, deep ways, it's been there. It's
Yeah.
been there and I've thought about it and I felt it.
Before we get to story's end, which is the final 5 questions, will you tell everybody about your wind jar?
Yes, and you get to see it.
I
This is
get
my
to see
wind
it. So
jar.
I'm describing it as this beautiful mason
It's
jar
a
with a sparkly gold lid filled with
yes.
paper that is red and pink and black.
They're all like Post-it notes. All these are Post-it notes. And so being a writer and being in your head all the time and neurotic, you're constantly struggling with yourself and telling yourself that you suck and that you haven't succeeded and that nothing ever works. And will I ever, ever see, the top of the mountain? And I read someone doing this like 20 years ago, but I never did it until maybe 5 years ago. So I have this mason jar and I will put on a Post-it note something cool that has just happened. So for me, just recently, Thomas and Mercer republished two of my self-published books from 2011 and 12. And so on separate Post-it notes, I wrote that down. View from Here was republished by Thomas and Mercer. And I fold it up and I put it in my wind jar, which I keep on my like altar next to my desk. And so I look at that and remind myself that things have happened and the jar fills up and it can be anything that's a positive thing. I have went on vacation to the Bahamas. That's a win because not everybody can do that. And at the end of the year, I take my jar of wins and I put them in a little plastic bag. I date it and I put it in my desk and I don't look at it again. So I have like plastic baggies of like 6 years of wins in my desk. And it just serves as a reminder that things are happening. Good things are happening. It's not just, people saying that my story sucks or I didn't sell as many copies as I wanted and those
Yeah.
things that kind of just keep us all in one place. So yeah, my wind jar. I love it. And I encourage everyone to do that. You don't have to be a writer. You could just be like a regular person with like a job you hate, but even in the job you hate, you've done something great. Put
Yeah.
put
I
that in your wind jar.
Yeah, I have a really good friend, and we'll text each other because she lives far away. Grinnable moments. What made you grin today? What is something,
Uh-huh.
that made you smile, made you happy? Similar to the win, but it's the grinnable moments,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I just love
No.
that, and the fact that it's tangible, that you can see,
Mhm.
I think makes a big
Yeah.
difference. So
Yeah. No, I shove everything in there. My daughter graduated from college with
yeah,
Latin honors.
congratulations, by the
That's
way.
in the jar. Thank you. Thank you. I finished my Invisalign for the year. That went
That goes in the
that went in that went in my win jar. So it all goes in. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would talk to you for the whole rest of the evening. This is quite fun. This is stories end. So the final 5 questions, right?
Okay.
When you find yourself stressed, what is your go-to grounding technique? Because Sunny has this, she creates lists. She'll name the states in alphabetical order, or the president in the order in which they served, or the books in the Bible. So when you find yourself stressed, what do you go to?
My husband actually just bought me 2 big bags of trolley worms, the sour and Hershey Kisses with almonds. So
It's
these
protein.
are my
It's protein.
yeah. Yes, protein and
Yes.
sugar to make me help me get through it. So those serve as both of my stress meters. I don't drink as much as I should.
Me either.
As well as right, it's like really should drink right now. And they're also I call them my thinking candies. So when I'm writing, when I'm drafting, those are my thinking candies. So they serve both as stress and as my carrots
Yeah,
to
like your
keep going.
muse. Okay.
Yes.
Wine is featured in this book.
Yes.
Yes. What is your favorite? Because there was one that I want to
Cabernets.
taste. I took a
Cabernet
picture of it.
yeah, Cabernet Sauvignon, and I like Jodot because that's what I can afford. There's a very, very nice wine that I can afford that I drank
Yet.
at my publisher's house that I've never finished off a bottle of wine, but it was that good. I took a picture of it, but I love
It goes
cabs.
in the
I
win
love
jar for sure.
yes, yes, yes,
That is a
yes.
win
One day I'm gonna
post-it
get
for
that.
sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so you've written several characters because you've written several series and standalones. Which character is the one that you would be likely to travel with and go on vacation with?
I would say Sunny because she's cranky, like I can be cranky, but she likes having fun. She likes nice things. She's very much a Taurus in that, and I'm a Taurus. I like nice things and comfortable things. I like being comfortable. And so I think we would get along really, really well. Her battery is short, and so is mine. So it's like, yeah, it'd be perfect together.
Perfect.
Mhm.
What do you eat for breakfast?
Same thing, actually. I have 2 slices of bacon and a cutie, unless my husband goes out to Noah's Bagels, and then I will get a lox sandwich on an everything bagel. But it's usually 2 slices of bacon and a cutie.
Huh,
Yeah.
you are what you
Oh,
eat.
and then some thinking candy.
Some thinking. Then the last question, what song is always on your road trip playlist? Not when you're driving in Mendocino on that crazy
Right.
road.
Purple Rain. I am a Prince fan, huge Prince fan. Saw him 5 times. And
Wow.
one of my favorite memories is being in Minnesota
Mhm.
with Jess Lowry and Christy Belcamino. And Christy and I went to Paisley Park. But before we did, she picked me up in her minivan and we sat in the front seat and drank vodka from a flask at Paisley Park. And then we went inside. And it's like,
That's
that's
a
one of my favorite memories.
that's a great
Yeah.
memory. I was in,
Yeah.
Minneapolis for PLA, but I ran out of time to be able to get to. I know, right? So I have to go back. I know,
Yeah, you
right?
have
I
to go
shouldn't
back.
even have.
But yeah, Purple Rain is like a repeat song.
There you go.
And also, may she rest in peace, Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Totally. That was sudden. I didn't see that coming. I want to say thank you to those of you for listening, and even bigger thank you to you, Rachel Howzell Hall. I've so enjoyed talking to you.
I have loved talking to you.
Thank you. If you're looking for a book, the strong female lead who is looking to reinvent herself with fear, Mist and Malice is for you. If you're looking for a book with such an atmospheric setting that leaves people unsettled, Mist and Malice is for you. If you're looking for a mystery with so many layers that you will not want to put it down, Mist and Malice is for you. To find out who else is visiting, go to storytocount.com. This is Story to Count, Jen Jumba.
Hey.